My name is Victoria Moretti. I'm a dating and relationship coach and matchmaker. I help people find love and thrive in their relationships. And I wanted to do a Q&A this week. This is based on some questions that some of my followers have asked me in my Ask Me Anythings on Instagram, have sent me in my DMs on Instagram, have left for me in the comments. So I hope that it can help you and that you get something out of it and that it resonates with you. In the future, feel free to leave comments that you want me to answer in future Q&As in the comments here on YouTube. Feel free to find me on Instagram and message me any questions that you might have that you want me to answer in the future. I'm happy to receive, short questions, or if you want to give me more detail and kind of background and context about what you're going through, or something that happened with your partner, I'm happy to comment on it in these. So thank you so much for joining. I've been having a lot of fun doing these, and I hope it helps. I will be referring to the questions down below, so forgive me if I'm looking down from time to time. So the first question that I got this week was, my anxiety has been spiking recently as I've started to like someone new. Help. So first and foremost, it's super exciting to like someone new, so this is definitely a good thing. And there is some normal anxiety that comes with dating someone new. Even if you're a secure person, there's always anxiety a little bit in the beginning due to just the uncertainty and nature of dating, and we don't know, right? Even secure couples aren't secure in the beginning. You need to really build that trust and earn that trust and observe what happens and see what they're like to really know if you're going to build that secure bond between you two. So that is totally normal. Now, with that said, and having done a lot of work on myself to build a more secure attachment, and have leaned a little bit more anxious, I totally understand how this can totally kind of rock your world. And I'm hoping that my page can give a little bit more tips and tricks to help you with that anxious attachment, or just being anxious in the beginning. Maybe, if you're fearful avoidant, or even if you're secure, just being a little bit avoidant at that stage. So the number one thing that I always recommend, and some people hate this, but this is something that has been life-changing for me, is meditation. I meditate every night before I go to bed, and I literally cannot recommend it enough. It has done a lot to calm my nervous system and really feel a lot more calm and peaceful throughout my day, and I'm way less reactive to things, and I can respond to things better, right? So I'm just a little bit more grounded in my day because of this daily, meditation routine that I have. And it's good for me to do it every day, especially in times when things are happening that are really good, right? Some people think, okay, I'll meditate when things are bad. No, like meditation, even when things are good, allows you to keep being able to kind of regulate your nervous system and feel calm and grounded and peaceful as you really develop a foundation and relationship with someone new. So yes, like in the beginning, it can be hard to do. We think we're doing it wrong. Sometimes it can even take a while to really feel the results, but just know that it is working, and every little bit counts to go towards, building that regulation. And I swear it's working. It just keep going, and eventually it will feel like it's supposed to feel, and you'll be like, oh my God, I finally get it. This is how it's supposed to feel like. And one day it'll click. And even if it takes you a month or two to get there, it is so worth it. Okay, The other thing I want to say is, and a lot of people will hate me for this, but this is something that I did when I started doing this work. If you are anxious, stop drinking coffee, because coffee or caffeine is making your anxiety worse. So really be mindful of the caffeine that you are really taking in during the day, because it's likely, exacerbating what you're feeling inside. So yeah, that was something that was really hard for me to wean myself off of, but after I did it, I absolutely never went back. And like, I have caffeine from time to time. I'll have a matcha or a tea or something, but I don't really have coffee that much. And I've noticed that it's really helped me with my anxiety as well. Another thing I do is in those moments where you're feeling really giddy, like you want to hear back from them, or you're anxious about something, number one, you can meditate. Number two, sometimes I like to think about a safe, secure person and presence that I have in my life. And I think about sitting in front of them, and it allows me to kind of calm down. And then, being in that more calm, present space, then I'll text back, or then I'll think of what I want to say or do. Or even, before I'm going to meet them, there was a time where I would do a 20-minute meditation before every first date, right? What are these practices that really calm you down, bring you back to your center, before you're going to respond to something or talk to someone, or when you're feeling really anxious in that moment. Start recognizing what practices really work for you. Sometimes if I'm feeling really anxious, before a call or something, I might just start jumping up and down and shaking it out of my body. Sometimes that really helps me as well. And then also, I know that this is easier said than done, but remind yourself of all the good qualities that you're bringing to a partner. I know sometimes we get anxious that we really want them to like us, that we want everything to really go well, but know that you bring a lot to the table, and sometimes when I think of my relationships of my past that didn't work out, I really, really valued and admired them for all of their great qualities. But then after it ended, I looked back and I would recognize that actually they had a lot of faults and maybe limitations, right? That I was actually stronger in, and things that I really brought a lot to the table to really bring balance to their life. And I'm a catch, and, I'm a very valuable partner and person and great person to be around. And so, I'd only really recognize that after the fact. And so I really started kind of shifting my mindset to remember that don't go in with rose-colored glasses that they're so great. They also have their things, right? And you can really be a good balance for them in your strengths, right? In the areas that you bring to the table. Sometimes as anxious attachers, and I'm not assuming that you are, but as anxious attachers, we kind of think that we're not as desirable as them, and we kind of put ourselves down a notch, and we put them on a pedestal. Remind yourself that you have a lot to offer, and you are probably a really great partner, right? So remember to kind of that they're looking at you as someone that they want to admire, right? Don't burst their bubble, right? Don't bring yourself down because of this second guessing and low self-esteem that we have, right? Be that person that they want you to be. They want to be curious about you. They want to be magnetized to you. They want to be impressed by you. They want to be excited by you. Don't put yourself down. And remember, you don't have to be perfect, just be yourself. And you can't say or do the wrong thing with the right person. Whatever's meant to happen is going to happen no matter what, right? So if something goes wrong, it's because they weren't meant to be your partner, right? But you are absolutely amazing, and just remember that. And then also, because I am who I am, do you have a professional or a coach or a therapist that you can go to in some moments to give you tools to really self-soothe and alleviate that stress and anxiety, and even work through anything that you might be projecting onto this relationship, right? Or this connection. Maybe there's like inner wounds or past struggles or an anxious attachment that, something that like happened in your past that you're really projecting in this moment, and that's what's actually creating the anxiety, right? So a lot of what I do with my clients is to say, okay, how are you feeling right now? What emotions are coming up? Where do you feel that in your body? What's the earliest memory that you can recall feeling those same body sensations? And, my clients will immediately think of, oh wait, it's like, that time when I was 5 and my dad said this and I thought that, and we'll go through an exercise of doing inner child work of what was the unmet need in that moment. What did you need from your dad or someone, like if you were there, your adult self telling you, what would you say to them? Like, what is it that you needed to hear or have them done in that moment? When that need is finally met, sometimes that inner child in you gets to relax and is feeling relief, so that then you can come back into your adult shoes and kind of see things from a different playing field and be present from the present moment and from the current reality that you're facing. And that can totally shift like your mindset, and you can feel more relaxed and be present to really go about your relationships in the present time in a more kind of neutral and secure way, right? So I give my clients kind of the tools to be able to do that in real time, right? So do you have someone that can give you some tactics, right, to be able to kind of leave your anxiety in that moment and kind of shift to like being back in your adult secure self, so that you can see things from a different perspective, and give you clarity and have more ease, right, within those moments. Okay, so that's what I would say about that. That's kind of top of mind right now. Okay, the next question that I had this week was, and this one I guess is more personal, what's your ideal first date? This is so funny. I will say I'm not picky when it comes to first dates. I am single right now. I am dating, I'm going through, the struggles just like all of you. But I'm not picky on first dates. There's some like women I know that are like, if they're serious about wanting a connection and settling down, like they better take me out to dinner, and that's how I know that they're serious, right? And then there's some women that are like, dinner is too much of a commitment for a first date. I'd rather go on a walk or go for coffee so that I'm not like hooked in for like 5 hours. It's just too much, right? Like, so no wonder so many men are confused about what we want, because we all have all these different opinions, right? But like I would say I personally am totally cool with doing whatever on a first date. I probably would prefer it not go for more than a couple hours. I just want to see if there's a vibe, right? If we can have a good time, if the conversation flows. I'm totally cool with, some people are nervous on a first date, right? Like I can work with that, right? But the first connection point is really just for us to see if there's something here that we can build on, right? Did we have enough of a good time where we can see if we can maybe have a good time for a second date, right? It's just like that thing of like, could I see myself having a good time one more date? So yeah, I love like, one of my favorite first dates that I had with a guy last year was we just went on a walk in Central Park, right? It doesn't have to be super flashy. With that said, if they are then interested in me and we go on a second and third date, then yes, I do prefer that a man makes some effort, right? And that just means that they put time in to think about like what we do, like plan the date, maybe make a reservation. Like it doesn't have to be super, but you can really just tell if someone's interested. And especially with men, you can tell if they're making an effort or not, So I definitely pay attention after that first date. Okay. But yeah, on the first date, like I definitely know there's guys that just want casual or are just like serial monogamous daters that never really like leads to anything. But like they'll wine and dine you and like take you out to like a 5-hour dinner and after dinner and drinks and the whole thing. And then there's guys who are really wanting to like settle down and are really intentional about dating that just do first dates as a coffee, right? Like I coach these men, like there's like a whole wide range and gamut of this. So don't judge people right away based on what they do on a first date. I mean, I think everyone struggles with dating, and you never know how long they've been out there trying to do this. And so yeah, let's just be curious and non-judgmental and give people a chance. Okay, the next question I had was, what is the best compliment you have ever received? My favorite compliment that I get from time to time is when people tell me that they like my energy. I don't think there's a better compliment than that. I don't always think I have the best energy, especially with like working on regulating my nervous system is something that I've really worked on really hard, with things like meditation and breathing and doing affirmations, and just doing a lot of work on myself. So when someone does tell me that, whether it's, on Instagram or in person, I just think that's really lovely. And I like giving the compliment back to people when I like their energy. I like calling that out as well. But I'm also curious of what compliment you guys like to receive. I really like this question. So feel free to pop your answer in the comments because I would love to see what all of your favorite compliments are as well. Okay, next question. What changed from who you are today versus who you were 5 to 10 years ago? Oh my goodness. We do not have enough time to go through everything that I've worked on and all the things that have changed in my life in 5-10 years. I truly feel like I'm a different person since I started doing this work. I literally, there are days where I don't even recognize, thinking back to things I would feel or do or say, like I don't even recognize that person. And I don't mean that in a way of like I'm judging myself, because I know that I was doing the best with what I knew and what I had. But it just means that it's just so different, right? And I've grown so much. Some things that have changed, I think, I've come so far to become more secure. I mean, obviously that's a big one. That's why I do what I do. Like I have experienced just the way I tackle my love life today is a whole 180 degrees different from 5-10 years ago. So that's why I know people can change. And that's why I'm adamant about helping people change and grow and become more secure, because I know it's possible. That's why I'm so passionate about attachment, and just like spreading the word that like you can heal from this. Things that have changed, like I used to be so anxious in my body all the time. Just like my default was anxious. Just in my body, it would always be just kind of like churning of like, am I doing enough? Like, what else do I need to do, right? It's very much like performing, perfectionist energy, like, and I would take everything personally, and I would try to fix in my relationships. And every avoidant or emotionally available man, like I would take everything they said or did or that didn't make sense or that was hot and cold as a reflection of who I was or something I did, or like, oh, I said something weird, it's my fault, if only I had done or said this or that, like they would still be around or they would like me. And like, I think that might be one of the biggest changes, that I don't take things personally. Now I kind of default to the other side of like, everything they're doing is probably a reflection of them. and a projection of the things they've experienced in their life. And that has nothing to do with me. And I know I'm valuable, and I know what I bring, and I'm not for everybody, but I'm happy with who I am and what I can offer. And I love just finding my people, right? And that's enough for me. And so yeah, I kind of just default to like not taking things personally at all. And of course I'm still growth oriented. I see if there are patterns and things that I can work on, and I still do. Like, trust me, there's a lot I'm working on. But yeah, it's very freeing to just be like, okay, just like let them, right? Like Mel Robbins says, like, moving on. It's just, my life is so much more peaceful in that way, to just like, surrender, not control, not try to convince, not try to earn someone's love, not trying to, perform to earn someone's admiration. I don't even mean romantically, right? It could just be like in a room, in a social setting, or whatever. Okay. Yeah, and I would say a big change is also I'm a lot happier, right? Doing my meditations and looking inward in my affirmations to focus on my own life and what brings me joy and my goals and things that fulfill me, instead of constantly looking at the external of like, oh, I want a partner and what are they thinking, what are they doing, and whatever. Oh my God, just a completely different experience of life. Okay. What qualities in a partner are you looking for that you do not have? This is an interesting question. I'd like to think that most of what I'm looking for, I'm like walking the talk, or however you call it. I want someone who is like ambitious and like passionate about what they do. If it's not like in their career, maybe it's a hobby, or maybe they're just like very curious and a lifelong learner. They're just like excited to like learn and grow. And even if they haven't like found their purpose, right, that they're curious about exploring what it could be, and they're constantly trying different things to see what lights them up, right? Someone who's like just very focused on that. Someone who's like into health and wellness. I obviously care about like grounding practices and my energy, and I like to work out. I like to go on nature walks. I'm careful about what I put in my body. I'm not perfect, but 80% of the time I'm trying to avoid things like gluten and dairy and sugar and alcohol. Like I hardly drink. If I'm posting drinks online, most of the time they're mocktails. But I do eat all those things from time to time, but I'm like try to be mostly healthy. So yeah, I'm just trying to find, someone who matches me in those ways. So I wouldn't ask someone to be a certain way that I'm not trying to be myself. I do think it's important for me personally to find someone with like a positive mindset, or has like an energy that is at least neutral to me or lifts me up. Because if you're gonna live with someone, their energy really impacts you, right? It's like you're the average of the 5 people that you're around all the time. Someone's in your space that's really, impacting your energy and how you feel and all of that. And I'm an empath and I'm an HSP, so all of that really gets to me. So someone who's really positive, like I focus a lot on gratitude. So someone who has a positive mindset or gratitude, or just, has a good energy, would be great. I guess like one thing that I do want that I don't necessarily have, I have some masculine energy, but because I like to be in my feminine a lot, I like to, receive and being that like nurturing, warm, kind of feminine energy, I do want a masculine counterpart. So I guess that answers the question. It's something that I don't have. Like, I obviously have masculine energy and I use it from time to time and in my day and in my work. But yeah, someone who is very grounded in their masculine and in the work, that it's like a real, not toxic masculinity, but like real grounded masculinity, that they can, they've done the work to hold space for their own emotions, can hold space for mine, and really be that grounded masculine kind of provider energy. Maybe another thing that I would love to have in a partner, but it's like I'm very open, is maybe someone who's more extroverted than me. I love to be around people, but I am a little bit more introverted. So especially when I'm in crowds, I tend to kind of like have to warm up to people a little bit, even in meeting people, I have to like get out of my shell a little bit, so if I had a partner that could be like a little bit more social or like talkative or good with small talk, I think that would be a good balance for me, but I'm honestly very open. But yeah, it'd be cool if like someone was better at that kind of stuff to kind of help me with that. And for me to be a little bit more like open and comfortable in social settings, but I don't know. That's all I can think of right now. Okay, next question. What would you do more often, if you weren't scared to do it? It's a great question. So I guess like one thing I would do is toot my own horn more and like scream it from the rooftops. I think I'm really good at what I do. I know I'm really good at what I do. And sometimes maybe I'm not as confident about putting myself out there. I think a lot of people are really, really good at selling themselves and like are confident and just like putting themselves out there all the time. And maybe more successful just because of that, right? And so I think I could do more of that. If I weren't more scared, maybe I'd do more like speaking engagements or podcasts. But maybe that's not my best format or platform to share my message, right? I really like being on Instagram. I'm really loving this like longer format content on Instagram. So I'm really excited about on YouTube. So I'm really, really excited about doing more of that, to be honest. But yeah, if people want to ask me on their podcast this year, I am happy for the practice. I will probably always say yes. So maybe I'll do more of that this year. But yeah, I'm excited about the projects I kind of have going on right now. Most thoughtful gift or message you have received. So I don't know why this memory came to mind, but one time my gay best friend, when I left my M&A consulting role, which I had for like 13 to 15 years, and I quit to go out on my own and become a full-time coach. And I had already coached for like 5 years, like I was doing both jobs at the same time. But I really went out to like go out on my own, and I quit. And it was a big, big deal to me. And, it's something that you tell your friends and, they say, oh my gosh, congratulations. Like, how's it working out? Like, how's it going? But this one friend got me, and it's so silly, but it's like the little things in life, right? Like my friend got me this like decorated cookie. And it was in the shape of like a pamplemousse, soda can, La Croix can, and it said congrats. It was colored like the pamplemousse can, and it said congrats, and he just gave it as just like a kind of to commemorate like this big occasion that I quit my job and I'm gonna do this full time, and I'm like on my own. I'm really like doing it, and I don't know. It meant so much to me that he did that. We give gifts for like, I don't know, engagements or like bridal showers or like baby showers, like stuff like that. But like I've never had any of those things happen. So I don't know. It was just like, this was probably one of the biggest moments in my life so far. It was one of the best days of my life, like one of the best years of my life. So it just meant a lot to me. So that's definitely one of the most thoughtful gifts that I've received. And it was just really unexpected and really kind. So I will always remember that. And I don't even think that I really expressed to him how much that meant to me. I mean, obviously I did in the moment, but like, I don't think I shared with him all these things that I just shared with you guys. So maybe I should do that. Okay, the next question is it healthy to take some space from family members, or must we fix and never give up? Is there shame in it? So first of all, I'm sending you a really big hug that you're even having to contemplate this. This is a really, really hard thing to deal with. I help many of my clients, with different strategies to better communicate and connect with their families, which has really gone a long way for a lot of them. I also help people to kind of decide if there's some healthy boundaries that they need to just implement with their family and how to do that. And then I also find it really healthy to see if there's like practices that they can protect their own energy, whether it's practice before they're going to see their family or talk to their family, during, while they're with their family, or after, right? To really protect their energy, to recharge them, to make sure they're not getting completely drained, right? Maybe it's like during a family function, they need to step outside for 10 minutes and come back. Or is there something they need to do before, right? Like, or there's practices to kind of like ensure that like their energy isn't really coming into their space and depleting them. So yeah, I help try to give my clients a lot of tools to be able to tackle their family situation in different ways, because these small little shifts can really go a long way to say, okay, I might not have to cut them off. Maybe if I do this, it could actually help make it more tolerable, or at least protect me and my boundaries and my energy and my needs, or make it feel respectful, or whatever it is that they need. With that said, I know people that have tried everything that they could think of and still need to take space for themselves. And I don't think there's any shame in doing what's best for your mental health, right? And I know for the people that I know that have made the decision to take space from their family members, like they did not make that lightly, and they never wanted that to happen, right? They didn't want this for themselves, right? So yeah, if you know of people out there that have had to do that, I wish people would be a little bit more curious and less judgmental about that, right? Because the people I know that have had to do that, like never in a million years would have wanted to do that. But they found that it wasn't serving them to have their presence in their life, and they couldn't find a different way to really make it work. So yeah, it can be really very painful and lonely to feel judgment from others about that, right? But just know that if this is you, I'm sending you a big hug, and I understand you, and I see you, and I feel for you. I see this with dating too. Some people do it unintentionally, right? Like some people really want maybe a partner who's really family oriented. Like that's really important value to them, and that's great, right? But in evaluating partners, like sometimes I find people say, oh, how are you with your family? Like what kinds of things do you do with your family? And they make a judgment on who they will be in the future based on their interactions with their immediate family, right? And, I know many black sheep that have like done the growth work to become more emotionally secure or intelligent, and may not spend a ton of time with their own family, but would love to spend time with their partner and their partner's family if they're loving, and to create a family and be a really tight family unit, right? So I guess this is just something to keep in mind if you're like asking questions to someone else on a date, to be mindful of. So yeah, I just, wish that we would see people for, how we've persevered in life, given what we were dealt, versus just judging them based on what they were dealt, or the family that they were born into, or whatnot. Okay, that's, I think, all I have to say about that. Okay, the next question I had is kind of a longer one. So, hi, I have a question. I'm wondering what you think about this. A girl at my boyfriend's work is throwing herself at him, asking him for compliments, asking him if he missed her, saying she loves him, passing him notes, and it's really getting to me. The thing is, she doesn't even know about me. She doesn't know that he's taken. Do you have any advice for me? I feel so insecure and ashamed of my jealousy and lack of trust in him. I don't know how to deal with this situation. Wow. First, I'm really sorry to hear this. This definitely seems troubling, or I can sense that this really is getting to you, and I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I guess I have a few questions on this, and obviously I have limited information, so I'm just going to throw some questions or observations out there, and you can, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Obviously, I don't have the full story. So first of all, I'm curious why she doesn't know that he's taken. Is that not something that he expresses to his friends or colleagues at work? And why not, right? Is this something where he likes to compartmentalize his relationships? That could be a sign of avoidant attachment. It could be a sign of emotional unavailability. It could be a sign of like just being scared of what people think. So I don't know what kind of like image he's trying to portray, but first and foremost, why isn't he saying that he's with someone? And if he's not, are you okay with that? Right? Like, you get to define what is okay with you in your relationships. And so I would ask you if you're all right with that. It's not just him that gets to decide. You get to decide if that's appropriate for you, and it's something that you want in a partner and in a relationship. Number two, can he, even if he doesn't share that he's taken, can he express healthy boundaries in a workplace setting if someone is being maybe a little bit flirty with him, right? He doesn't have to tolerate it. Obviously he doesn't have to reciprocate it, but he also doesn't have to tolerate it, right? Is he doing anything to say, if she's saying, I love you, right? Like, is he's saying anything to her to kind of give her an idea that, he just wants to be friends, or, he's not interested in that kind of relationship, or that he's not appreciative of those types of comments, right? Does he have the emotional capacity to be able to set those healthy boundaries and express that with this person? And I'm hoping that you guys can have a conversation about that he can communicate to you what it is that he thinks about it, how he has put boundaries in place, so that you can feel comfortable with that. If he has, and if he is putting boundaries in place, and he can't control like what this person says, especially if they work together, but maybe he can limit the time that he's around her if it's not, in regards to work things, right? But like, if he has done those good things to kind of put those things in place, then it's up to you to really trust him, right? Like, let's assume that he is putting boundaries in place and all of that. Like, at some point, we can't control what other people do around him, but it's more about like, do you trust him that he's not going to do anything, that he's going to put boundaries in place, and he's not going to be like flirty with someone or like lead someone on to believe that there could potentially be something in there just to like people please or not, you know, disappoint people or to like get ahead at work or whatever it is, right? Like, what are those lines that like, you know, you guys are okay with? You get to define what you're okay with, but then also if those lines like you both agree, then at some point you have to trust him, right? And you know, what has he earned? Like, has he earned the benefit of the doubt? Has he given you reasons in the past to mistrust him, right? Because otherwise, like, then I would say trust him and do the work internally to say like, what's coming up for you? And you know, this is what I help my clients with. If it's like some kind of past wound that's being projected into this moment, to say like, what is it that you need to feel okay? What's the unmet need here, right? Can you give that to yourself so that you can self-soothe? And you know, right, because like we can't control everything. Even if he's not going to cheat with this person, if he wants to cheat, he'll find a way to cheat. Like, you know, like we can't control everything and everyone. At some point we just need to trust, right? So yeah, and my other thought and question and curiosity here is this potentially addressing the fact that you don't feel reassured or confident or secure in this relationship? And is it because there's some kind of like anxiety that you're projecting onto the relationship? Or is it because that he's not giving you maybe the reassurance and confidence and security? Like, is he not meeting your needs? Is he not committing to you? Is he not doing things or saying things that you need to hear? Is he not emotionally connected to you and giving you the emotional connection that you need to feel reassured in a partnership, right? Because you might be fighting this fight and trying to control this woman when really what you should be focused, like if that's true, maybe you should be focused on these things of like, what do you need to get your needs met? What do you need from this man to make you feel secure in the relationship? Focus on that. Because my curiosity is like, if all of that was good, then you wouldn't care about this woman and whether she likes him, right? Because you would know that you and your man are good and he would make you feel good at home or whatever, right? So yeah, what do you need? What do you need from him? And focus on that and have questions or have conversations with him about that. You know, maybe don't focus so much on conversations about the woman, but about what you need, right? Because I think like, even if she were to go away, my worry is that like, if this is not solid, then you're still going to need more, right? And so that's maybe the real issue here, right? It's like, if she goes away, like we're thinking like, okay, then everything will be good. Well, maybe not, right? If the foundation isn't good. So maybe just some questions to think about there. Yeah, and it's definitely okay to be jealous from time to time. Like, there's no shame in that. But yeah, maybe just being curious about, you know, what you can do about that for yourself, and also what needs to be addressed between you and him. Okay, the next question is also rather longer. So it says, "Hi Victoria, my name is, and I'm from," I won't say it. "I'm reaching out because everything you describe in your post seems to reflect my ex-partner's behavior perfectly. We had an intense, loving relationship, but she ended it abruptly for the second time in March after a conflict. Since then, she's blocked me everywhere and doesn't want to talk except possibly by email." Okay. "She told me in the last message that she is not the woman I need and that she can't be enough for me. She is highly conflict avoidant and admits that if she talks to me, she fears she will fall back into the relationship, and she can't allow that. The truth is, my love seems to be too intense for her to hold, and I believe this overwhelms her emotionally. I've been deeply supportive, present, and emotionally open, and that might have triggered her avoidance system even more. But then, in April, we ran into each other unexpectedly. She froze for a second and then walked towards me. She asked how I was doing, hugged me deeply, and held on tight. It was her initiating it. I saw it in her face, her eyes, her energy. The love is very much still there. But after about a few minutes, I saw the internal battle return. She didn't say it, but I could read it. It's like her saying, I want this so badly, but I'm not allowed to want this. Since then, silence. Not because she's angry, I'm sure of that, but because she doesn't know how to face this without losing control of herself. My question to you is, what is the best way to reopen contact with someone who is emotionally avoidant but still clearly feels deeply? I don't want to pressure her, but I do want to reach her. Warm regards. Wow, I'm so sorry about this. I can just tell it's really getting to you, and wow, that moment where you ran into her, I'm sure that was really difficult for the both of you, right? It's very clear that you both had a lot of love and care there. I don't think there's a question about that, right? And sometimes it's a question of, is that love and care enough? And, does this avoidant person have the emotional capacity to be in a relationship with you? To be in a relationship with you in the way that you need and you want, right? And we can't force people to commit to us. One of the cornerstones of relationships is commitment, right? This person has to want to be in this relationship with you for it to work. So number one, we have to let people have agency in their own decisions. If she feels so strongly that she can't be with you and that she's not the person for you, respect that. Number two, is there some truth to what she says, right? Saying that she's not the woman for you and she can't kind of give you what you need. Is there truth to that, right? Think long and hard. Even if she were to come back and be fully committed, can she give you what you need? Right? Or do you need her to change in a significant way for you to be happy with her? Right? Is she really meeting your needs? Right? Because if not, then that could be something to really look into in you, to say, why are you pursuing someone that needs to change for you to really be fulfilled in the relationship, right? And if that's the case, you deserve someone who can meet your needs, and you deserve someone who can fulfill you in a way where they are meeting you emotionally and have the emotional depth to connect with you in that way. A lot of times we think that avoidants have all of this emotional depth inside of them and they just don't want to reveal it. And that's true for a lot of avoidants. Some avoidants are really in touch with themselves, but they're afraid to open up and let themselves be seen, because what if they get rejected? Right? And what if they find out that they're actually not good enough and get rejected, which is their biggest fear. But then there's some avoidance that it's not like they're even confused of what they're feeling in their internal world, right? And if they haven't really fully understood what they need and what they're feeling, how can they communicate that to you, right? And so maybe you need someone who can be able to know what they feel and communicate it to you, and be able to have those in-depth conversations, and be able to resolve conflict, and be able to be intimate in all the ways that you want to be intimate, right? I don't know your story. I don't know what's going on between you, but I want you to think about that really hard, right? Sometimes we can have tendencies where we try to fix, we try to convince, we know the potential, it could be so great, and we can't do the work for them. They need to choose to do the work, to be at a point where they can, show effort and have a reciprocal relationship. And a lot of avoidance can. They have done the work, or they're willing to compromise and come to the middle and put in that effort. And some avoidants are not at the place where they're ready for that yet. And if that's her, unfortunately, we need to accept that, right? So, and another thing is, even if she did come back, she does want to do the work and she does want to put in the effort, it sounds like you're having to be the one to convince her and kind of twist her arm and show her that it's possible and pull her along, right? And if you're having to do that now, a lot of times that means you'll have to keep doing that for the entirety of the relationship. Like, you're always going to be the one to bring up tough conversations. You're always going to be the one to pull them along, suggest intimacy, suggest, having the tough conversations, convincing them to go to every new level of the relationship, to commit, be exclusive, commit, move in, get engaged, marriage, kids, right? And it's okay to be if you have a strength in the relationship, for you to be the leader and kind of lead in that area. But I want you to ask yourself the question of, can you do that? And are you willing to sign up for you always having to kind of, hold and do the kind of emotional labor for the both of you? And what do you need to see from them that would be enough, where you would feel like it's balanced enough, right? And would she be able to create that balance that you're looking for? And that's a different, answer for everybody, but I want you to be really, really honest with yourself, because I have been in relationships in the past where I'm constantly always the one to pull that other person along. And, after 3 or 4 years of that, I just said, I can't do it anymore. And it drained me, and I lost myself. And I really, really knew and learned, becoming more secure, that I deserve someone who can just fully give me what I want and need. And that doesn't mean it's going to look perfect, and that doesn't mean they're going to give me 100% of what I want and need, right? But I needed someone to be a little bit more in tune with themselves, to be able to provide that, so that I didn't have to always be pulling them along, and it was a little bit more equal partnership. So yeah, if you do want to reach out to her, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You could say something like, hey, I heard what you said, that maybe you're not the best one for me, or can't meet my needs. And if that's how you feel, then I respect that, and I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. And there's a part of me that's, curious of, if there were maybe some things I did or said to make you feel like you aren't good enough in the relationship, and that you weren't making me happy, and that I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And I really want you to know that, I appreciated all these things, X, Y, Z, and I saw the effort that you made, and it was enough. And I'm sorry if I, nitpicked on certain things and I kept demanding for more. I could really work on that to kind of temper that a little bit. And, there's still some things that I, if we tried again, that I probably might need and ask for. But I was really fulfilled with you, and you made me really happy, and I would really love to try again. So I would be really open for that if you would be. And if not, I completely understand. And, if you want me to, I'll leave you alone, right? So I hope that's helpful. Sometimes we're not fully done with something, and we really need to see it out to have closure, to know that we did everything we could and we have no regrets, right? So if that's what you need to do, to say I did everything I could, then I'm all for it, right? Respectfully, do it respectfully. If she put boundaries in place, respect those. Don't try to keep pushing and inserting yourself into her life, right? But I can respect that. And sometimes we need to experience something with a person, right? And that's meaningful and that's helpful, even if it fails, even if it doesn't work out, right? There's something there for us to experience and learn. So yeah, do what is best for you, and I trust you know what that is. Okay, the last question I have is, my ex and I broke up 8 months ago. About a month and a half before, I noticed a Starbucks cup with a man's name on it and asked who it was. She lied and made up a story. She started dating this guy a week or so after the breakup. My ex has now asked me to meet for coffee. Ironic. What the heck is going on? She couldn't look at me for months. We worked together. Oof, wow. That's a really tough situation to be in, especially since you work together. I'm really sorry that this happened. I'm sorry that she lied to you. I'm sorry about this other guy and the Starbucks cup. That had to have felt really, really bad. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you. That is just never good. And can just be so hurtful. And really just like a kick to the ego, to the self-esteem, to all of it. And I'm assuming you know, you really cared about this person. So I'm sorry that happened to you. And, you know, yeah, no one deserves that. And no one deserves seeing it like that. My answer to your question, you know, of what is going on, I have no idea. I do not have enough information to know what's going on in her head or what she wants. She could want to talk about work. She could want to talk about closure. She could want to talk about getting back together. I have no clue, right? I would think long and hard about whether that you would no matter what she says, you know, do you want to entertain something with her if she wanted to again? You know, is that someone you want to be with? Someone that would lie like that and just jump into something else without telling you? Everyone makes mistakes. I believe in second chances. I think you can recuperate, right? If you both really felt like you wanted to. But if you do, what is it that you need to see from her, right? That you need and that she needs to give this another shot, and to know that like this could possibly work again. What is, you know, what are the new rules? What are the new needs that need to happen, that you guys can agree on prior to trying something again, right? I would think about that prior to the conversation. And then also know that if you're just curious and want to go and want to hear what she says, like, know that you don't have to communicate anything to her. You know, you can say, no matter what she presents, you can say, okay, thank you for sharing this with me. You know, she asks you for something or asks if you're interested. Like, you can say, I don't know what to tell you right now. I have to go back and think about this, right? Like, you are not on the hook to do or say anything in this game encounter. So know that. But yeah, I'm just really curious about what you want. What do you want for your life? What kind of person do you want? What are the values that you're looking for? Does this person have it? You know, and some people make a mistake and realize that they left something good and then come back and do the work and are intentional and make the effort. And, you know, that was the thing that they needed to really be able to fully invest in something like this. But if that's the case, like, you're going to see it. Like, their effort is going to be clear. They're going to say, like, they're going to be accountable to their stuff and what happened, and they're going to have a plan for what to do better this time around, hopefully, right? And then even if you were to take them back, like, they need to prove that to you, right? They need to build that trust again. They need to, you know, you need to see them prove this to you with their actions, right? So yes, that's possible. Other people are just, you know, they want to be able to bounce in and out whenever they want, right? Like, maybe this guy, maybe they felt like you guys didn't have a good connection, and it wasn't meant to last. And so then this thing came along, so it was easier for her to like bounce out of your thing and with him. And now this didn't work out, so she's maybe lonely and wanting some, like, you know, attention and admiration, and that's easy to find with you. I don't know. I have no idea, but I wish you the very, very best of luck. And of course that's confusing. That is confusing behavior. Maybe it's hot and cold behavior. Maybe it's insecure behavior. I don't know. But we're all human, right? So I trust that you know what you want. And yeah, let me know how it goes. Let me know if you have additional questions. Yeah. So thank you everyone for your questions. This was a lot of fun to answer them. I hope you guys got something out of it. And I can't wait to do this again. Thank you so much.